This is Franklin Frith, General Manager and Principal of Human Resources Mexico. Today we're with Mayra Muro, the Administration Manager of Human Resources Mexico, and today we're going to talk about how to hire a foreign employee in Mexico. Basic steps, but it's a process, and Mayra is the expert here. So Mayra, I'm going to turn it right over to you.
Thank you, Franklin. So we are going to discuss briefly the process for obtaining a visa by offer letter for hiring a foreign employee. Well, first of all, we need to make sure that the Mexican company has a permit to hire foreigners. This is obtained at the Immigration Institute here in Mexico, which is the Instituto Nacional de Migración, and the document is a proof of employer's registration, which in Spanish is constancia de empleador, and this acts as a permit to hire foreigners. So once we have this permit and we have identified the person we want to hire, we need to make sure that this foreigner has a valid passport from their home country and that he is located at the home country. The process that we are going to talk about is for a person who doesn't have any visas or is not here in Mexico.
And they can't be in Mexico.
They can't be in Mexico to make this process.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, so the first step will be that us, the company, will need to go to the Immigration Institute and request and provide the information to hire this foreigner. We need to provide the permit, fill out some forms. We need to provide the copy of the passport of the foreigner. We need to provide the offer letter of which will contain all of the information, personal information of the foreigner, will contain the description of the activities he will be performing, salary, how often are we going to pay him, and where is the foreigner going to live here in Mexico. So once we provide all of this information to the Immigration Institute, they will give us just a receipt with a number for follow-up. So once we have this, the Mexican consulate will schedule an interview with the foreigner in their home country. So if the foreigner we are planning to hire is an American and living in New York, for example, the interview will be held at the Mexican consulate in New York where the employee is living. So this consists of an interview and to verify the documents that this foreigner has, that everything is in order for him to enter Mexico. So they will provide him with a permit to enter Mexico, and with this, the foreigner will be able to enter Mexico only once, and he should take this document to the immigration office where we initiated the process, where we as a company initiated the process, and the foreigner must exchange this permit for a temporary visa with permit to work here in Mexico. This is why it is called by an offer letter. So once the employee has this temporary visa, he is able to have a tax ID number, to have a Mexican Social Security number, to open bank accounts here in Mexico, to rent.
To sign a lease agreement.
Exactly, and we as a company are able to hire him legally here in Mexico, but once he has this document.
That's right. That's right. So just to summarize a couple things, the employer in Mexico, which has to be a legal Mexican entity that has to already be registered with the immigration office here in Mexico as a valid employer, can solicit that the employee receive a visa in order to live temporarily here in Mexico and work temporarily in Mexico. However, the employee must be outside of Mexico in their home country when the employer initiates the request. And then the employee is going to have an appointment at the consulate in their home country. They're going to arrive in Mexico. They're going to exchange that temporary visa the Mexican consulate gave them with a temporary resident or temporary resident visa with a permission to work.
Exactly. Yes. And I would like to make a note that once the employees have this visa, and he changes address, gets married, or obtains another nationality while here in Mexico, he needs to notify the Immigration Institute within 90 days, or fines will apply. So the employee is responsible also of renewing the visa. Sometimes the visa are granted for 1, 2, and up to 4 years, depending on the work he is going to be performing. But the foreigner is responsible for renewing the visa.
That's right. So the employer in Mexico initiates the process, the employee finishes the process, and then is responsible for the ongoing reporting of any status of where they live or if they get married, and for the renewal, the employee is 100% responsible. Is that correct?
That is correct. And after 4 years of having a temporary visa, the foreigner can request a permanent residence here in Mexico. And if the permanent residence is granted and you still make any change of address of employer, you still need to let the Immigration Institute note that you have changed address or employer or got married.
And the only time that you don't need to report a status change as a foreigner is if you actually become a Mexican national.
Exactly, yes.
Okay, excellent. And just a final question, Mayra. About how long does this process take from the minute the employer in Mexico requests with the immigration authorities to ask to hire a foreigner that's outside the country? But how long does it take?
It takes around 30 days.
So it's not that bad. All right? The process isn't that bad. It's not a rocket science process in Mexico. As long as you follow the rules and know what the process is, it's pretty straightforward.
Exactly.
Mayra, you're an expert.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mayra.
Thank you.
Okay.